For the card I'm going to use today, I've used numerous products available from Bello Designs. Some I've got that are from my own stash because I live in the UK. But it just goes to show that if you have them in your stash, how easy it is to mix and match. So basically this is a jelly roll pen by Sakura, which as far as I can tell is in Patty's shop. That was my own stash as well. Then this Distressed Oxide Candied Apple. I'm also using the Ordinary Distress Ink Peeled Paint and Antique Linen. I'm going to blend these onto my card with just some brushes from my stash. Again, there's different ways of doing it, but I like to use these brushes. Now, these are fairly new to me, so I'll have to see how they go on. But basically, any soft brush with soft is for blending, the better. So next up, Patty's getting in these gorgeous cardio stamps. So this is the Bells and Baubles stamp set that I'm going to be using. And then I'm going to use the Sweet Poppy Snowflake, Christmas Snowflake stencil. Absolutely love this stencil. I've used it quite a few times and I'm quite sure I'm going to use it quite a few more. Then I'm using the Lavinia Multifarious, which I have in the A4 size, which I find is handy because I cut it down then to whatever size I want. So I have cut a base card in some cardstock that I have myself that's just again a very smooth card. So I've cut it down for the size of a 5 by 7 inch. And then out of the multifarious, I've made what will be a built-up layer. So that's 6.5 by 4.5 inches. I'm having to think about this because I personally tend to use centimetres and millimetres for my measuring, but I know that you are used to your inches, so you'll have to forgive me if I'm a bit wary of those. And then also I'm using the Sweet Poppy stencil tape, which I find is okay. I find it's very, very good. It holds things in place. And as one of the DT girls the other day did a video on how you can use it with different ways. So maybe check that out too. Right, so we'll begin. So on the multifarious, that's going to be the smaller layer card, and your Sweet Poppy stencil. Place your stencil where you want it. You can use this either way. I have done in the past and it works both ways absolutely fine. But for now we'll use it the way that it's meant to be. So taking some of the stencil tape, and covering the top bits of your stencil so that it covers your card, so that when you're going over with your stencil brushing, you're not putting it in places that you don't want to see. And again, down the edges of your card. And that should hold your stencil. Great. Right. So I'm going. I did a card the other day, and somebody said that they weren't sure on how they did the blending. So I said that I would show them how I do it. So I am going to show you how I do it. I'm quite sure there's different ways, but this is how I do it. So I usually start with the lightest colour, which I'm going to put in the bauble and going down for the ribbons and the bow. So now I have sort of colour coordinated brushes. I also have a set that are they're not colour coordinated, and as long as it's the Distress Ink Ordinary, they can be mixed, but the oxides prefer to just keep to their own colour. Now I tend to press down. Now I'm going to have to see how these brushes are, because they seem to be not holding it very good. They were just a cheap set off the internet, but I'll see how they go on. It is only a light colour, this, so it might be that it just doesn't seem to be there visible very, very obviously, because of the fact that it is only a light colour. So basically, doing in small round circles. If I want a lighter look, I dab off a bit of the ink, but like I said, this is a very, very pale ink anyway. And just go along the outside of the bauble, as so. I'm not going all the way to the bottom. So now I'm going to go and concentrate on the ribbon effect. And on this, because it's only a small section, and if you can try and press down your stencil, it stops things getting underneath. Like I said, this stencil has been very, very widely used. So it might have just slightly gone a little bit off track, but it's still quite easy to use and not a problem. Right, now I'm going to go and do the peeled paint for the top. So again, I've got a colour theme brush. Like I said, you really don't have to do that. So this is where I'm doing the holly. And build up your sections. Now, as you can see, hopefully you can see. Let's see if I can bring it in a bit. I've got little bits that are darker on some bits than others, and I quite like that because you get variegated holly. So for now, I'm going to leave that as it is, and just concentrate on the well, I don't really know what they're called, but these well, I suppose they look like fir tree branches, really, don't they? If I'm wrong, forgive me, I'm not quite sure what they're called. Again, because it's only a small area, I'm just like dabbing the brush in, really. Right, so that's that bit. Don't worry if it goes into your other sections, because you're going over anyway. Right, so now I'm going to have... I personally don't see much difference between the oxides and the ordinary Distress Inks, to be honest. I think they both blend quite easily. But I just happen to have this one in an oxide, so that's why. Now, I will say that the oxides are juicy. So dab some off on the side before you start using them. And go again over the sections that you want. I say, this is a brand new ink pad. It is very, very juicy, which also is a little bit more harder work to get your blending going, but if you take your time and do light strokes and dab off, you shouldn't have any problem. Now on the bauble, I do go in round circles. And go from where you start and keep going till basically your brush hasn't got much left on. And go around the outer edges. Now I want some effect on the ribbon effect, but I don't want it everywhere. So again, because it's only small sections, I'm just easing it on. You can of course only do that in one colour. Any colours you want to choose, just choose. Right, so I just use some baby wipes that are basically simple baby wipes. They've not got any harsh chemicals or anything in. You can just use a bit of water on a cloth, but I just use these because I've got them in my stash and I find that they clean up quite well. Your brushes to clean these off, all you need to do is just, couldn't see that, sorry. All you need to do is just like that with your brush on a scrap of paper till basically you can't see the colour. Sorry, that was a bit of scrap paper, so ignore what you was seeing on that paper then. Right, now then, I am now going to come back in with the antique linen. Oops, I've used the wrong brush, doesn't matter. Like I say, it's very pale this. So again, going in round circles. Now when you add a layer over a layer, it does slightly alter the colour. Like I said, this one is a very light colour, and the candied apple, sorry, was very, very strong because it is also a new pad. But basically, just take your time, don't rush it, and just keep going till you get more inside the centre and make that fairly light. And hopefully you can see that it's building up. Now I don't go right to the middle. I do leave a bit because to me that looks like light reflected off the bauble, because I want to make the bauble look like it's a proper round bauble and not a flat piece. Now here, I don't know if you can see, but I've got a bit of green from the stems onto the ribbon effect. So again, I'm just going to lightly take some and see if I can just maybe hide that a little bit more. Doesn't matter if it doesn't. I'll probably add in some sort of glitter effect or something anyway, and hopefully it'll help to hide it. Right. So that now, hopefully you can see, looks quite blended. So I'll just get those out of the way, and I'll come in with the baubles from the Cardio, which is Bells and Baubles, this one I'm using. So first of all, take away your Sweet Poppy tape. Sometimes you can reuse them, it just depends. Sometimes the sticky's gone, but I find, to be honest, I can usually get a couple of bits out of them. And then very, very carefully you would lie that flat and wipe over it to get rid of any bits that's left on. And then keep it flat when you're storing it, because these bits here especially are very, very delicate. I'll just put that to one side for now. Oops, that wasn't very clever, was it? Now then, hopefully if you get this quick enough. There we go. Yeah, there was just a little bit of distress ink got caught off my brush or something. So I've just literally taken the wet wipe to it straight away and it's come off. So that's now then, hopefully there you can see the blended effect. So I'm going to use a stamp press. Now I have this one, just what I use. Patty sells the Misty, either or, and there's other ones as well, just as good and work the same, but this is the one that I use. So right, so I decided I was going to have some baubles in Baubles. So there's quite a few different ones, as you can see, but I decided I think I'm going to do this effect. Now the good thing about a stamp press is, a stamping platform, is you can put them where you want them, mess about with them till you think, oh yeah, that was okay. So I think I quite like that. Press down to pick them up. Now you will just have to forgive me, because even though I was trying to think of everything I needed, I also need the VersaFine Clair for the stamping. You could do these in any colour, but I think I'm going to do them in the black just so that they stand out. So I'll move this across so you can see what I'm doing. So little light dabs to try and get the ink on the stamp, and then press down, lift up, and yeah, they're good first time. If they didn't, just put another layer of ink on and without moving the stamps and restamp it. Now I usually just, as you saw, give it another wipe then with the cloth. I usually then take a old piece of cloth and just dry them before I put them back on the plastic carrier so I don't lose them, because they are very tiny and very easily lost. So that is, yeah, that is that. Right, at this stage you can remove this now, and we've finished with that for now. Now, at the moment, they're hanging in midair and look a little bit silly. So I'm going to, not a very good drawer, but I'm going to use a fine liner. I'm not quite sure if Patty sells these, I think she might do. And basically I'm just going to free fall and go up with a straightish line. Now then, let's see what I could do there if we want to make it, if you're not brave, you can use, yeah, a ruler. Gives a more defined line, I suppose, as well. This is a bit trial and error with me as well, so we're learning together. So those two are with the ruler and that one's more with freehand. So actually I do prefer the ruler looked one, so but that would be entirely up to you. Maybe this one's just blowing in the wind. I'll go over it and see if I can make it. Yeah, looks a bit more straight. So I'm going to use the Jelly Roll pen. Like I say, I don't quite know what colour this is because it's not really got a colour on it, but hopefully it's a bit of a reddy pinky colour. And all I'm going to do is put a dab in the middle of the bauble. You could use Posca pens or anything else, to be honest. Like I say, didn't want to use it too much. I like to layer my cards on. It's entirely up to you. I mean, some people just use the base layered card. Some layer them up and put another layer underneath. I sometimes do that on some of my cards of coordinating cardstock. But I thought I'd also show you how easy it is to actually do your background on your card to match in with the colours, as long as your cardstock, your base cardstock, is fairly smooth as well. So, taking your colours, I'm not going to use the green. I'm going to use the main colours. So, again, taking the relevant coloured brushes, and again starting with the lighter colour. So sorry, I had to break off, there was a phone call. So going round the edges, you could use a bigger brush. These are a bit small, to be honest. Don't think I'm overly keen on these brushes, to be honest, but just goes to show you that even without a brilliant brush, they were cheap, like I say, maybe a bit too cheap, you can get the effect you need. And like I say, antique linen is a very light colour anyway, so it isn't the easiest to get to lay down. This is a way of incorporating all the colours that you want to highlight without having to try and hunt for a piece of card in your stash that matches. And at the end of the day, it's just a little bit more ink. So go all the way around the card. You're going to hide the middle section with the layer. So you do not need to put it right down into the centre. So that's the antique linen. And now we'll go in again with the candied apple. Now this again, like I said, this one is strong, so I'm going to take some off for this one. And it probably will go further. So just keep on going. And then that way you get this muted, blended effect again. If you see any that looks a bit too strong, just go back over it. Make sure you wipe up your work surface. You don't particularly want a pile of And at this point, make sure that you don't put your top layer on your card without making sure that your card's the right way, because of course you've turned it round to keep checking. Now then, I also sometimes, which I might do in the green, like to go over the edge. So using just a foam tool on the top layer, literally just go along the edges. On some projects I actually distress the edge and make the paper or the card rough, but on this I don't want to do that. I don't know if you can hear my dog whining or not. I'm sorry if you can. I don't know what's up with her today. She suddenly decided to start howling, and she's never ever done that before. It's like as if to say, oh, right, you're trying to do a video and I want to be on it as well, which isn't very good, is it? Right, so glue of your choice. Patty sells quite a few, so literally whatever you have. As I said, this is 1/4 of an inch. Oh, no, is it 1/4 of an inch? Yeah, 1/4 of an inch less than the card. All the way around. So, because it's a wet ink, if it's not quite where you need it to be, you can at this stage move it to give the border that you want. So this is the card at the moment. I'm not very keen on the way that you can just see this top here. And I'm just going along. Oops. That's made it wet, that's made it run. That wasn't very clever, was it? Let's hope that the glitter hides it. Right, the pen decided to run underneath the glue. And at first I thought, oh no, what do I do? So I'm hoping that if I go across here, it'll also go across, which it has. So basically I'm hoping to make a mistake into it looking like it's meant to be. So now it looks like the black holders are on a black hanging bar or something like that. And then, because you know, we don't want to have to waste these things, do we? Now I'm going to have to, all as I'm doing here is dabbing off my glue till there's no black left on it, because I don't want to have to put black on other places. But I am going to go down this edge of the card with just the glitter. That hopefully. Brings that. And then I like to give glitter to where the berries are. Like that. Easily moved away if it just gets out somewhere else. And then I also like to just highlight on the edges of the ribbon and the top of the bauble. You could do this with a glitter that's loose like this, or like a Stickles glue as well. And then there we have it. And I would probably finish off by putting some sort of text, either there and there, or just along the bottom like Merry Christmas or something like that. So I hope you can see how blended it is, and hopefully the glitter, which is always harder work to show, and hopefully shown that, you know, even if you've made something and at the last minute it goes a little bit wrong, that you can, if you give yourself a bit of time to have a think about it, you can hopefully make it that it works for you. So I hope that has been helpful, and see you soon. Bye.